Hello and welcome to Imperfect Parenting Podcast.
We're back.
We are. And we are fresh off the conference.
I know. If you're following along, we had 2 with Seth in a row.
Uh-huh.
That was pretty special.
And they were a bit different.
Yeah. There was background noise.
There was. So it was basically we were just practicing what it probably feels like in your car or in your house when you listen to us. And
when your kids are in the back of the car.
And you're laughing because it's just so much fun. That's what we did at the conferences. We got to record 2 episodes live.
So fun.
Which is a lot of fun.
Such a great group.
It was. It was great. It was everything that I was hoping for in my kind of pre-book launch and then having the conference. So we're a couple months out from it now, but it was a lot of fun. Yep. And I wish you all could have been there. You would have loved it.
Well, that's kind of part of today's podcast a little bit, is bringing people into some of the conception of the conference and why you did what you did and who you brought in. Mm-hmm. Because I think one of the things we love to do is give away resources.
Yes.
And point people to people we trust, that we love, that carry part of the message that we've been entrusted with. Mm-hmm. So I think for today, we actually get to bring people into some of the conference experience.
A little bit.
Or at least point to what was experienced through the people that came. Yeah. So is there any quick recap on the conference that you would say, this stood out to me, this went really well, I loved this part?
Well, I feel like we're supposed to do our meme before we jump into any of that.
I'm just ready to go. We missed the meme. If Seth was here, he'd be disappointed.
He would be very disappointed in you.
Seth, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
You two are like the meme
because this is a great meme too.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then I'm going to read it. Brittney, thanks for the accountability. People are there going, wait, the meme. Maybe. All right, here we go. So it's just words this time. So I can just read it to you. There's no picture to go find. But it says this. Son is talking. Son. Dad, there's a small get-together at school tomorrow. Father. Small get-together? How small? The son responds. Only me, you, and the principal.
That is a small get-together, but not usually one that parents want to go to.
Did you ever have this conversation with your parents? Maybe not that tactfully. That was pretty cool, but...
No, I don't know that I ever ended up in the principal's office for being in trouble. Here's a classic Brittney story for you. Not very many people know. Mr. Price was my principal.
That's a great name.
I know.
The Price is right.
Mr. Price was my principal. He was a very sweet man. But we had chapel and when I was a kid, and you had to wear a dress every Friday for chapel. And if you only knew me in my younger years of junior high and elementary, I don't look anything like I do now. I barely showered and I wore as baggy clothes as possible. I was doing everything I could to be a tomboy. So, Ben, you came right at the right time. But in that, I hated wearing a dress because I didn't think it was fair that the boys only had to wear a collared shirt. And I'm like, shoot, I'll wear a collared shirt. I'll wear a polo and jeans. But no, the girls couldn't do that. The girls had to wear dresses, which if you figured out from me, I'm a bit of a injustice freak. And so I hated wearing a dress, and I often was in trouble because I didn't have a dress for Friday because I wore pants and a shirt. So we had to write essays. And one time it got really bad where I don't know that I ended up with my parents in the principal's office, but it was probably an email of, this is something that keeps happening. So my solution to that was in Weaverville, there's lots of flea markets and stuff like that. And I found this really ugly tie-dye dress that went all the way to the floor that was like a tank top so I could just put it over whatever shirt I was wearing. I did not care if it was stripes or paisley print and tie-dye. I did not care. But I put that on every Friday for almost an entire school year. And as soon as the bell rang and we were dismissed from chapel, I would rip it off in line because I had jeans on underneath and I would cram it back into my desk. until the next week.
What'd your parents say?
My mom just requested that I would wash it every now and then.
I can smell it from here.
That was about it.
That's funny.
That was probably me, the biggest in trouble I ever really got in school. I don't know about you. Did you ever get in?
I had a couple. I got a few I'm thinking about. One actually had the word dress in it too. I'll tell the story real quick.
I hope you weren't wearing a dress.
No. This may get some flack, but here we go. I was in 4th grade, and my teacher, it felt like she was picking on me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think 4th grade is one of the harder years. It feels like a transition year from kind of the young elementary to the end of elementary school. And so it was a rough year for me. And school was never my strong suit. And so my parents ended up in a meeting with this teacher, a 4th grade teacher. And they're kind of going through it. And, you know, they're probably feeling some of the injustice as parents and, you know, just doing their thing. I'm sure they were respectful most of the time. Till they got to a point in the conversation when my dad said, if we put him in a dress, would you treat him better?
I wish I was there for that for your dad, because
he's pretty laid back, pretty easygoing.
Every now and then he's sneaky.
You get a little fired up there.
Yeah.
But the one I was actually thinking about was, it's probably in 6th grade. I was a good kid most of the time. I'm saying that to preface to say this. I think peer pressure got the best of me a couple of times. So what would happen is I would find myself with a group of friends that I wanted to be cool around. So I got in trouble a few times with them. One of the times was we were jumping over the stalls in the bathroom, thinking this is awesome, till a teacher walked in. And we went to go to the principal's office, and they handed all of us a broom, and we had to sweep the entire school for a couple of hours that day. And I'm sure there's more stories. Yeah. I mean, fast forward, I ended up in the principal's office in high school because I was on the chaplaincy committee. So it worked out. But
well, yeah, I don't have very many peer pressure stories. This is where my 1 on the Enneagram shows up. I cannot do that. It is wrong. Yeah, I have more of those stories
which is awesome.
And something like that. It is awesome, but you know, we all have things to work out. But
all right.
Okay, so now we're going to jump back.
That was our commercial.
That was our commercial of our childhood. But now you know some fun random facts about us. The conference and what I don't remember what your question was when we started.
I asked a question about the point that really stands out to you when you think about the conference. What was the big win for you? You walked away going, that was awesome.
Just one? I don't know that I could find just one. Probably, it happened a few times in different ways, so I'll just count it as one. How about that? Can I do that?
Feels like cheating, but yes.
Okay. So in the beginning of planning this, I had been to another book launch with a friend of mine, Tia Wood, and she's so fun. So she had nothing but fun going on, and I knew I probably couldn't pull it off quite like her, but I loved what she did, which was having a VIP day, which we did, and then inviting people into our home and having them come into our personal space. I think it just is different than, you know, I'm a relator by nature, so I usually am smaller gatherings rather than larger groups of people I don't know in that intimate space. But I really loved the hunger of the people that showed up for VIP and to have all of our speakers, you know, rubbing shoulders with everybody and answering questions and just having a good time. So I love that part, which I feel like set the tone a little bit for the conference the next day, which was just a space that was created that was more intimate. I don't know if it was because the people that were able to come to the VIP day that helped create that atmosphere. I want to say yes. I'm not really sure. But in my heart, what I wanted to build was just basically a panel of people that are resources to families. And most parenting conferences that you go to, it's tools and you get a binder, or you get this kind of, this is how you do this is what to say here, what not to say. And so it almost feels like if you were an educator, like a convention, you know, and you walk away with all these tools, which, yes, I think parents need tools and that's the heart. But I also really wanted to kind of confront the belief system around enjoying our kids, having a vision for our family, and really coming into a new alignment with heaven. With this, we say whole healthy families are going to save the world. Well, what does that mean? It starts with the whole healthy person, but I don't think that parents know how to enjoy their kids because they feel overwhelmed and then they don't know how to use the tools. They just want obedience and compliance, but really it's the relationship part. And if we don't really have the father, and so there's all these components. So in my heart, I wanted parents to come into a space to encounter the Father and be kind of confronted with, what do I believe to be true about his design for family and his plan for family? And yeah, we had some practical tools in there, but I wanted that to be more the heart of it, rather than just, here's a bunch of tools, now go home and I hope you use them correctly. Which, thank goodness for the podcast, because we talk through all the tools. But when I heard different families or couples, and we had, what I loved most is that we had almost equal men and women in the room.
Men, well done.
Yes, I was
showing up. Come on.
love that. I mean, for me, that was a huge win, because normally it's all ladies, or it's ladies that drag their husbands to the first day and then the husbands don't show up the second day. This is just what I'm used to. So to have an equal amount of men and women, and we had single dads or just men that came and their wives couldn't come. So that part was shocking, and I loved it. But to see this hunger from all these different people, so whether they were singles, single parents, or someone, I had a couple that couldn't come, their spouse couldn't be there, or married couples, what I kept hearing from them was, I came for tools and practical application, but my expectations were blown out of the water. And I'm changing with a new belief for the culture of our family. And that probably the sweetest gift that I could ever receive. And I find it a great honor that I could host a space where families would walk away with that. So those are my favorite moments. I don't really know how to put it into one moment. And everybody that we had coming and speaking, I knew I could accomplish that by getting the right people in the room. And that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, and I think two things there as you're talking. One is, you did a fantastic job as your husband, who's extremely biased.
Yes, you are.
And also, it's true what I'm saying. But you did a really good job. And we said this from the beginning, but it really did feel like there was a movement started. We have this podcast, we're talking about imperfect parenting, the book's out there, all this stuff, but it felt like there was a movement and an invitation to join a movement. And I think it was your dad or Bill years ago said something like, culture starts from the top down, but movement starts from the bottom up. And so it just takes a few people that say yes and say, I'm going to put on display what's in this book, what Brittney and the team are talking about, and take this somewhere that other families begin to look at us and say, what are you doing differently? What's about your family that we're missing? Can you help us? And this is how it starts in grassroots. And there's loving your kids on purpose, and there's some momentum here that we're building from, which is beautiful. I think at the same time, there's this new layer, this new level that this book and this message is bringing that just feels so exciting. And that last night, and that we'll talk about later on, just had such conviction and strength. And there was just this thing in the room when you were speaking. So there is recordings coming out at some point with the conference, and you can go watch it if you want to. But I just... to brag on you for a minute out loud. It was fantastic. I think the other thing I was thinking about as well is, we brought our friends in, and you did really. I say we because we're married, but you.
I think I was writing on some of your friendships.
Sure, but you brought friends in that really are partners in our parenting journey as well, which I think just lends itself to the point. Make sure you have partners in this journey. Like, go find people that are going the same direction. Even if their emphasis in their family and parenting is different than yours, it actually helps create a full picture when I have partners around me that are chasing after this too. So,
we often say that whole healthy families are going to save the world, but really that starts with a whole healthy person.
And whole healthy people understand who their father is, who they are in him, and that gives them the ability to then present Christ to people well. So often we get disconnected from who the Father is, how he sees us, who we are in him, and that changes how other people experience us. We want to help you understand your connection to the Father, your connection to your own heart and identity, and then how to love others well.
We are so excited about Kylo University. We're going to be going through God, self, and others and welcoming you on this journey of discovery. We're gathering a community of hungry people to chase after this mindset, shifting from I once was to I now am. If you're interested in joining us, please make sure you register below.
I do want to spend a few minutes talking about who you brought.
Yeah.
Just kind of their emphasis, because it was such a whole picture that was painted with all of them. So, who would you like to start with?
Well, let's just start in the order that we've got it on our notes.
That's a great idea. I didn't know if someone was standing out to you first. This first one's great, but Angie Taylor. Talk about Angie Taylor for a minute.
Yeah, Angie Taylor, she's been on the Kylo show. She's been on a couple of parenting things that we've done. She is one of the founders of Valor Global Online, which is our kids' school. I can't say enough great things about Angie. She's just this little feisty Mighty Mouse type of presence. I mean, she's petite and she is just...
She's making waves.
She is. She's courageously going out there. And her emphasis is on education. Yeah. And so she's really kind of pushing against what the normal is, both in what has traditionally been how you do education and what is best for the child and what's best for our families. Yeah. Which I love, that we're looking at our families, like how do we set our families up for success? So she's done a fantastic job with that. And I brought her in because, yes, I think everyone should go to Valor because it's a really amazing school. And it was a godsend, and I've mentioned this a million times, and I'm so thankful for the school. And we just did Delaney's graduation, and we were the obnoxious, rowdy people. I mean, if only you could have been in there. It was hilarious. We had about 25 people with air horns and obnoxiously large signs, and they had to pause because we were so loud. It was awesome. But Angie is attracting like-minded people, and they're all different, but what she's doing is she's doing a fantastic job not being afraid of their differences, but empowering how do we make all of our differences work to help families be successful around education and our kids. And so she came in and she talked about just kind of the pushback that's happening in education, the agenda that's happening, and what is flawed in it, and how we should be doing this better, and how do we actually serve our kids to be successful, students that grow up to be mature, critical thinking adults rather than just on a conveyor belt to working without asking questions. And so I wanted her to have a voice to parents because I do feel like right now education is in most places fighting to remove family as a priority and push their agenda. So I'm just trying to invite the conversation of how do I get somebody in front of the people that I love, which is all of you, that's going to challenge your way of thinking. And obviously you don't have to do it like us, but I have high value for what she's bringing and the questions that she's asking and encouraging families to ask. So The Way of Valor is her book, and she helps families. So if you love your public school and you want to stay there, but you aren't asking good questions, she just helps you ask some powerful questions. If you love your private school and you aren't asking these questions, she's just giving you great questions to start asking. And so I loved what she brought there.
The thing I love about Angie is she has about 30 years of experience in education, which just brings this depth and this authority really in this field. At the same time, she's one of the most courageous visionaries I know.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, what if we go to Mars? How do you
Start
get
at
there?
school.
Don't worry about that. Let's just dream with me for a minute. And then she's like, oh, by the way, I built a rocket. We're going.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She just has this
She
ability to
does, this
dream
drive.
and visionate in a direction. They're like, I want to follow you. Where are you going?
She was great.
So fun. We love Angie deeply. The next one is a couple. This is kind of a fun one. We've been connected with these people for a long time, but having them come in this context, in this way, was different. So Jason and Lauren Valentine from Bethel Church, Reading.
Yeah, I wanted Jason and Lauren Valentine because I know the heart that they have for families, and Jason obviously has Brave Co. and for men.
There we go.
You've been a part of that.
I love what Jason's doing at Brave Co.
And I love what Jason's doing.
I'm not wearing the hat today, but I'm only wearing the Brave Co. hat.
You are normally. Actually, the hats that we designed for our conference came from Jason's hat because all the guys loved your hat, Jason. And I was like, all right, I can compete with that. That's what I'm trying to do. But Jason and Lauren have a huge heart for families. They have a unique situation. They have a blended family.
Yep.
And so they can speak to this and how to do it with success. And it's not shy of, bumps and potholes, but they have just pressed in and weathered the storm, and they've chose connection. And so I knew that they could speak to an area that I have value for parents having tools and resources that I can't personally provide. I don't have that journey. I do think that our tools work, and I do think that I have wisdom to speak to it, but I don't personally have that experience. So bringing in somebody that could empathize on a level that I don't know, and bring resources that I don't have. But it's been really fun to work with them, and they have a new podcast that they just started called Dates, Mates, and Babies, and I think it's hilarious.
It's Dates, Mates, and Babies.
It's kind of a push on some other things at Bethel, like you're not supposed to prophesy dates, mates, or babies, and I think that came from Jason's dad. But anyway, so they came and they spoke about blended families and their own journey and their story and their testimony. So if you're a family that's walking through that, they're a huge resource. I would lean into them and listen to their podcasts and different resources that they're building for this. They also talked about marriage and being successful in the hard and in the painful and in the just the real life of marriage. And we have a big heart for marriage. So I knew that they would be able to speak to that in a way that feels similar but different. And again, I was doing for similar but different over and over again in all the different ways, because I don't want it to just be our talking heads. I wanted to bring in people that carry authority in this that I could put in front of our people. So I loved them. And Jason, I was writing more on Jason's relationship with you and my dad, because I was like, Jason and I haven't exactly hung out very much. Maybe when I was a freshman in high school, maybe. I don't even know if he may have already graduated by then. But they were a beautiful ad on the VIP day. That was really, really fun to have them there.
It was. And I think the thing about them as well is that there's lots of people listening, I'm sure, that have gone through deep pain. And from their story, there's divorce, there's mental health. I mean, Jason went through deep depression he had to work through. He wrote a book on forgiveness after it. The pain in raising teenagers that want nothing to do with you. Miscarriages. I mean, the list goes on. They just have this painful story that they've weathered so well, and just have these jewels that they've built from it. So if any of those things stand out to you, go find Jason and Lauren.
Please.
Good.
Please.
All right, keep moving. Dave Hill is the children's pastor at Bethel. And so much more.
Yes. Dave Hill has heartsmart.com, I think, or I'm not really sure which one, but it's one of the
Type in HeartSmart.
HeartSmart.
In the great Google.
Yeah. And but he really actually has Boris the Robot, which is he has this curriculum for kids that he wrote as really a journey. He's been on the podcast as well, and we've talked to him a bit, and he's been on some other things that we've done around parenting. But Dave has a gift of bringing in courage to talk to your kids about the Bible or stories, and he has this creative outlet, like the way that he thinks creatively, and kind of bringing peace and lowering your anxiety to, you can do this as parents. You could lead in, really helping your children have a relationship with the Father, getting to know the Bible. So I knew that he was going to bring this piece. And it was actually really beautiful because I didn't expect Dave to be as emotional as he was.
I was just going to say that.
And he has some pretty wild stories of his own life that he shared in the conference. But again, the courage to just put in front of parents the value of walking with them and helping them develop a relationship with the Lord and leading in that in your family. I knew that it's something that's it's a topic that we often leave to Sunday school as parents. I have worked in Sunday school for years, so I know firsthand that's the default. But I love his invitation to own it. And so I knew Dave, and he's hilarious.
Yep.
So
He is so funny. He's English.
He's English.
So he's got that witty Englishman. Yeah, just the key on that point you just made about like Dave actually introduced this tenderness to the conference that seemed to follow everyone after him.
It did.
Everyone seemed to cry after he did. He started
We blamed it on him.
He opened the can. But I actually want to pause for a minute and bring that thing that he brought to the conference to this moment here. If there's any parents listening and you feel like you've lost that tenderness, I just as Brittney was talking, I just feel like there's this opportunity just to invite the Holy Spirit to come back and just tenderize your heart for your family, even your relationship with the Lord personally. That thing just gets tenderized and helped again, because that something happened when Dave just put his life on display like that. I think something happened in the room, and that's available here too. So
yeah, it was really sweet. And again, we'll make these things will be available at some point. I don't know when, but which is kind of why we're teasing out a little bit of if you missed it, I want you to go find these people, because if your heart, has a tug on it as we're talking about what they brought and the purpose behind it, I that's what I want you to go and find for yourself. It's why I put them in the room. So the next one that I brought out was Rochelle Dittmore, which we've had the Dittmores on the Kylo show. I feel like everyone's been on the Kylo show so far. But Rochelle is, if I thought Angie was Mighty Mouse, but Rochelle, I don't even know how to describe Rochelle's energy level and passion. That girl is, you better watch out. You better be ready for her, or she's going to take you out just in her happiness. Yep. Like, she is so happy. I remember asking her to come and speak, and she said, "Why me? Why do you want me to do this?" And she actually, they run a nonprofit organization called a City of Refuge in Sacramento, and they just do crazy
in the hood,
crazy things. So if you're looking to give somewhere, City of Refuge is a wonderful investment. They also have a farm outside of Vacaville called Be Love Farm, and it's really this kind of retreat place to go and get refreshed. And it's I don't know the right word for it now. I can't. Regenerative, is that
farming?
Yeah. So this is them. They have so many projects, and they're passionate about all of them, and it's super fun. But what I've watched Rochelle and Lauren do is they've invited their kids to be a part of this life and this call that God's put them on. And a lot of it is being an evangelist, the prophetic, and worship. They both lead worship. Yeah. And what I've seen Rochelle do with her kids and with her family is not separated at all. Yeah. It's really been this beautiful blend of we talk a lot about the culture creed, and I think we've done this, but it looks different because we're not the evangelists running around. We're more the pastors. So our kids have that bend, and when it comes to communication and different things and relationship skills, because that's how we folded them into this. But Rochelle got up there and she just told stories, but what she did is she ignited passion in this room, and she got the entire place excited about your own story. Yep. And that everyone has a story, and everybody has this opportunity to have this deep, convicting relationship with the Lord that we can invite our family into and help them get excited about it. And that's what, and I knew it was like lighting a bomb. I just like lit the match and threw it near her and she just exploded. And that's exactly what I was hoping, was to get this excitement and anticipation for, God, what do you have for my family? And that's what she did.
And there's this prophetic swirl as well. Like when she starts talking, there's just this thing you're like, yeah, God does have a plan for my life. God does want to do good things. Oh my gosh.
Before you
Keep
know it,
talking.
you're hooting and hollering and yelling at her, amening. And it's
It's just so I mean, go find those people. Go find City of Refuge.
yeah.
Such good things they're doing there, and get some of what they're doing on you. It's awesome. There's two more. We'll skip over Seth because
Seth.
you know Seth well.
We'll just say that
Spirit-filled families.
yes, but Seth
So
and
much.
we have such a history. He's like a brother, and so you've heard him on this podcast, and so to not have Seth would feel like it was wrong because he's been such a part of the journey.
Yep.
And even though our kids are older than his, he is like an uncle to our kids, and he's like a brother to both of us, really. And
Yep.
what he carries for families and his anointing, he just has this apostolic call on his life, and so what he's doing for families, and then when he just comes and speaks, he just has this gift to challenge us really in how we view the Father and our access that we believe that we have to the Father. He does he talks about really well. So and then we also have my parents.
Your parents.
Which I think they had a lot of fun because my dad described it as they were in the back seat and you and I were driving. You know, it was that baton toss, a bit more of the legacy that they've been investing in was on display. And so we were able to lead, you know, we took the bulk of speaking and just coordinating it all. And it really was more an expression of me and you and our parenting rather than my dad and my mom's. And so them speaking really was just kind of infusing the legacy piece and the dreaming that can happen and intentionality. And obviously they were a gift and lots of fun. And my mom wasn't on the roster, so she kind of surprised we threw her in there. So she was game to jump in. She had some opinions of, is this getting talked about? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, well, you know, we got a slot. Here you go. You're up. But so them being there is just the legacy piece, really, and speaking into keep running, because you know this is what God has for you.
This pays off. Yep. So good and so encouraging. So there's a quick little laundry list of who we brought in and who we're so thankful for. And I think just to say again, go find partners for yourself that will link arms with you in your family goals and heart and vision. And then as well, go check out these people, Angie, the Valentines, Dave, the list goes on.
Yeah.
But we are so thankful. Brittney did a fantastic job. And this concludes the third conference podcast conversation.
Yep. We're going to keep talking about it for a little bit but we had fun. So thank you for joining us on the Imperfect Parenting Podcast, and we'll see you
next week.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.